Hey, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Midlife Crisis. In today's episode, we're going to do our first modification on the AMG SL55. Our first modification on the SL55 is going to be to replace these stock mirror caps with some brand new carbon fiber mirror caps. Before we get started, remember to smash the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, hit that notification bell so you get an update every time we upload a new video. And as always, if you'd like to follow all of our car modification and automotive videos, please follow us on Instagram at Midlife Crisis. Now let's get to it. So before I attempted the driver's side, I went ahead and did the passenger side just so I could figure out the entire process before I share it with everybody. You can see the fit and fitment is awesome. It looks great. One of the things that you need to know before you do this replacement, that the SL55 and these mirror caps come in almost like a first gen and a second gen. So if your SL55 or SL550 is a pre-2004, 2003, 2002, there's one style of mirror cover, and then late 2004 and above, there's this style. Now, my SL55 is a later in the year of 2004 model, and after talking with the supplier, he recommended I go with the 2005 to 2008 version, and that is what I did. One of the things that sucks about replacing the mirror caps is you have to take apart the entire door trim. So a couple things to note before you do that. Don't do what I did and pry too hard, and this is all held together with a glue. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trim panel clips that are just tied in on these black plastic frames. Now these are just glued in, so don't pry too hard. So when we take off the driver's side, I'll take you through how to safely take this off. Now I'm gonna have to do a little TLC, get that glued back together, and get a couple extra clips before I put this door panel back on. But we're gonna take the driver's side off a little softer, a little more gentle. So to take you through some of the things that we're gonna be using in this installation is obviously the carbon fiber mirror caps. They come in 2 pieces. So you'll be able to take this apart, and it has a back and a front. It has a puddle light hookup that we won't be using, and then it has the rear turn signal indicator that we will be utilizing. The reason we don't use the puddle light is this particular model does not have the electrical hookup for that. That's a later model feature than the one that I have. So we will only be using the single one, and I'll show you how we hook that up. Now, as part of the kit that you get from the supplier on this, now this was purchased on eBay. I will put a link in the description below for where to source the carbon fiber mirror caps, but it's going to come with a kind of a bag of different types of connectors, splice joints, things like that. It'll come with some extra screws just in case you lose any. So you will need a good pair of snips or scissors, good pair of wire strippers with a crimper's edge, some black electrical tape. I recommend some butt connectors. We will have to be doing some splicing between the old style connector and the new style. Heat shrink, as always with Mercedes, a good supply of different size Torx screwdrivers, flat tip, Phillips. I do recommend a head flashlight. You're going to be working in a tight space. A interior trim kit, always important thing to have when you're taking off any of the interior trim parts. Now, one other item that you will need once we get to the heat shrink is a heat gun. So let's go ahead and get that out. So there we go. So just having a heat gun that'll shrink that heat shrink around the connector once we do the splice on the connections. So let's go ahead and get into it and start taking off that door panel. Wish me luck. All right, let's get this thing open. Now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take off this SRS airbag kind of emblem here on the side panel. Underneath it is a Torx screw that we're going to have to take off. So all you do here is you're going to turn this counterclockwise, and it just, gently pull out from the leather interior, and it just pops out that easy. Take your Torx get in there. Now, I do recommend a magnetic Torx because you don't want to drop anything in the inside. And it's just like playing Operation when you were a kid. All right, so the next step is to take off this end cap off the door. It is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Torx screws. And you don't want to lose these either, but just take them out one at a time. And this end piece here is just going to come straight off. Pretty simple. All right, so this is probably the most tedious part of the whole replacement, and that's taking off the door. So there's a total of 8 clips that you're going to have to pop up. So grab your interior trim tool, and you're going to have to play with it just a little bit to find, and go slow. Take your time. You don't want to. I will probably break something. I'm very good at that.
Eventually.
All right. Now that you've spent millennium getting all these red clips off, now what you need to do is gently, again, I'm terrible at this. I'm not gentle. I break every clip in every trim panel there is. But what you're supposed to do, using the handle here, is lift up on the door, and it's going to come off of the frame, off the door. Now, you don't pull it all the way off because you still have some connections that you're going to need to disassemble. And you just pull it off. Now, you're not gonna really be able to see this, but this connects to the door handle on the outside and opens this and is secured to this latch right here. So we have to unattach that, and it just unhooks. Pretty simple. Now you get that front part off. Now, back here, you have all the electronics to everything in the door. The windows, power mirrors, etc. And we've got to disconnect all this. Now, what I do is I will grab a flat tip screwdriver. Now, the good part about all of these connections, they all only fit back in one hole. So you really can't screw it up from a disconnection perspective. We really are now gonna concentrate on the mirror. So, off the mirror, there are 2 connections, a black one and a white one. You'll notice right here, when you plug it in, the one with the white dot is for the white connector. That is the black connector. Pretty simple. They just plug in and out. Not a big deal. Now, to get the mirror off of the door, you have 3 Torx that are right here. Now, be very careful as you take these out to hold the other side of the mirror, or the mirror is just gonna come off. So let's get to it and remove those 3 Torx. All right, let's get these 3 Torx out. Now, these 3 Torx have a rubber seal or gasket for weatherproofing that comes in those holes. What I like to do is I'll go ahead and take those off just so I don't lose them or they fall through or whatever the case may be. And then we'll reapply them with each of the screws. And you can see that right there, that little rubber gasket. So don't lose those. And then remember with the very last one to hold the mirror. And then voila, we got the screw off. Then you got the entire mirror assembly. And now we get to take this apart and replace it with the carbon fiber one. All right, we got our needle nose, and so we're gonna ever so gently, don't pull on the wire, but just pull up on the spade connector, wiggle, and it'll pop off. Now, one thing to remember is which one is the top, which one is the bottom. So we're gonna put a little tape flag on that wire, and it can be any type of tape. I just use some masking tape, something that's gonna come off easy. Put my flag on that wire so I know which one was the top. When I put it back together, again, same thing on the bottom spade. Hold the mirror down, gently pull it up. And then here, it's got a little push down clamp. And boom, it pops out. Hopefully you broke nothing. You didn't. So your mirror, nice and safe. Go ahead and put that in a safe place. All right, now once you have the mirror out, you got a couple different Torx screws in there. We've got to get this outer housing from the back housing so that they're separated so we can pull it off. Let's go ahead and get these first 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and get those undone. All right, now after you've got those 3 outer screws, there are 1, 2, 3 screws that are in the power window housing. So we're going to go ahead and take those out. Now, you shouldn't have to, according to what I've seen and read, but when I did the other side, I had to take these out as well. Now that's going to allow us to take out the housing for the power window. Now, back here there is a little power adapter, and I'm just gonna take my flat tip and pull it right out, and there is your power window motor. So now you have all the innards out of the mirror. All right, so now in order to pop off this outer housing, you're going to push your mirror all the way forward. And as you'll start seeing some separation. Now again, using your trim tool, you're gonna wanna start prying that apart and trying to be, you know, gentle as you can. It is a little awkward, to be honest with you. Once you get all the clips, you'll start pulling it off and boom, the old one just will pop up and pull out. This is the 4-pin connector for 2 pins in this unit. So that's gonna pop out, that's just a little holder. But if you see inside there, I doubt you can see, there's only 2 pins. This entire unit is for 2 pins. So what we're gonna do is we're going to go ahead and snip this off. And we're gonna splice our own connector. So before we put this entire thing all the way back together, we're gonna wanna make sure that everything is wired correctly. Now, we need to take our new carbon fiber version and we need to go ahead and disassemble it so that we can enclose the housing. Now there's only 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3, that these 2 units are connected together. Now you have some back screws as well that are going to be used for mounting the internal guts, if you would, of the mirror. So we'll take out those 2 as well. And then voila, they come apart, 2 different pieces. Now, like we discussed, you have 2 electrical connectors inside of the new unit. So it's important that you know which one is which. So the puddle light, we're not gonna be using because we don't have the electrical hookup for it. So what we're gonna do there, grab a couple zip ties, and that way we can just, you know, put it away at the very bottom, out of the way. And so doesn't get in the way, the internals of the mirror. Make sure to snip the ends of your zip ties. Now we have the 1 connector. Now, remember, we stripped these 2, or we cut these 2, but we have a connector on this side. So what we're gonna do is we're going to do a splice onto these 2 wires. So in the kit, it comes with all kinds of different connectors. You wanna go ahead and find one that has a connector that can slide together like that. And then on the other side, no big deal, cut off the end. We got 2 wires on this side, 2 wires on that side. So before we put anything together, we're gonna make sure all of our electrical stuff works. So here, let's go ahead and take our wire strippers and go ahead and strip off our ends. And you don't need to take that much back, just maybe 1/3 of an inch, 1/2 inch. Twist them up so that the braid is a little bit more stiff. That way when you put it inside the butt connector, it will go in a little bit easier. So you've done the one side. Now, on this side here, you need to be a lot more careful. And you might ask yourself, well, why is that? Very short wires. And so if we mess up, we don't have a whole lot of room to work with here. So don't mess up. So again, we're going to strip those wires. And I hold the inside as the stripper goes out. And then you have 2 copper ends. Go ahead and twist those. Now, before you connect anything, you want to go ahead and get your heat shrink. And I pre-cut this one so that the length was about right. You want to go ahead and put that on the wires because once you connect them, you're not going to be able to put the heat shrink on. You're not doing anything with it yet. You just go ahead and feed that through. That way, when we're done with our splice, we can at least bundle it up, make sure it's secure. You don't need any special colors or anything. You know, just get some very small butt connectors so that you can splice these 2 together. So all you're doing is you're going to connect in one side, crimp it, validate that it's tight. So I'll just take one side at a time. At the end of your pliers, you have some crimpers. Now what I do is I will hold that, push the wire in with my hand. That way I know that it's all the way in. And then I will clamp down on it. That way I get the wire all the way in. And you're only clamping on one side because ultimately you got to clamp on the other side. And then at the end, clamp the end. And that way now we're tight. So we're going to do that to both connections. So now we're going to take our other side back. Same thing here. And we're going to repeat what we just did like that. Now, you should have 2 complete connectors. Now, we're gonna go ahead and get in the vehicle. We're gonna plug up our black and white. We're gonna check our blinker, make sure that it works before we put all this monstrosity together. You remember our black and white connectors? These are the ones that are all the way over here, closest to the door jamb. That one plugs there. This one plugs here. Going down to the assembly, down to our splice, and our new mirror cap. Here's the fun part. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Mercedes Benz. Let's go ahead and turn on our blinker. We can see that it's gone out there. And bam! Boom! There it is. It's working just like it's supposed to. Now let's put this thing back together. All right, now that we know that we have our connection and it's good, let's go ahead and get this in a more permanent situation. So we're gonna take our heat shrink that we pre-put on there, and we're just gonna wrap it and put it right where the butt connectors are, right in the middle. We're gonna go ahead and take our heat gun. And you just want to get it kind of sticky, because what we're going to end up doing here is we're going to go ahead and take some electrical tape and we're just going to close off both ends there. It's going to be a little warm, so be careful, don't burn yourself. Let's close off both ends. And that way it is a little bit more secure in there. Now that's nice and protected as we go back inside of the enclosure. Now you want to two together, get a nice fit. Now we've got 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, and 4 that need to go back in. All right, our housing is completely on, which is awesome. As you can see, it's got great fitment. Now we just got to get the mirror back on. So let's get the motor back in. So here we've got the one plug. Go ahead and get that plugged in. And then our housing and our motor are all the way back in. So the last thing we need to do is we need to put our mirror back. So again, we got to put our spades back on. We've got to put our one electrical connection back on. That back in, one. And remember our tape, that goes to the top. So now you can literally take the tape off. And we just attach the spade and press down and they will clip back right in. All 3 of those connections are back in. We need to go ahead and put our mirror back in. If you just press firmly, but not too hard in the center, it'll snap right in. You now have a complete mirror ready to go back on the car. All right, now we're going to reverse the procedure. I'm gonna snake our cabling through the hole. Go ahead and pull that through. Now, while you're doing this, you're gonna have to hold your mirror nice and taut because you've now got to get those torque screws, those 3 torque screws back in. Go ahead and get the top one in and remember to have your rubber gasket. So you continue to keep it waterproof and make sure it's nice and tight. You can feel it on the outside. Let's go ahead and plug you in again. White to white and then the black. Here those snap. Make sure those both are in. Hold it from the outside. Make sure that all the fitment is correct. And we've got a new mirror. And we've done it. Brand new mirror cap. Full on carbon fiber. Absolutely looks gorgeous. Now that wasn't too difficult, was it? Let's check out and make sure it works after we got it all assembled. All right, let's check it out. Go ahead and put on our blinker. We know it's working up front. Let's go check out, see if it's working on the mirror cap. And it's working on the mirror cap. We did it. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at that weave. Very nice. So as far as the door panels go, I will not bore you with the details of putting those back on. I hope you enjoyed this automotive tutorial on how to swap out the stock mirror caps with carbon fiber mirror caps for the R230 SL55 AMG. As always, please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and until next time, we'll see you later.